If you're trying out my 5-week home organizing challenge, then you probably already know that week 2 is all about clothes. In this video, I'll provide some extra tips to aid your success with week 2 of the challenge. Hi friends, this is Vicki Blair with The Groomed Home. Welcome to my channel, and let's dive into those week 2 tips. So if you've already seen the week 2 video, then you know that task 1 for week 2 is actually about some of the main habits and tasks that you did in week 1 of the challenge. I know that's a little bit sneaky, but there's good reason for it. I made the case in the week 1 tips video about making your bed every single day. So I'm not going to repeat myself here, but I really think it's a great practice to do with mindfulness and some gratitude every single day, continuing here into week 2. And likewise, do the obvious every day if you can, which means actually putting trash into the trash bins, getting recycling into the recycle bins, and just taking care of simple things like putting away laundry once it's done, putting away the dishes once they're done. Keeping up with those simple things every day really helps to prevent new clutter from accumulating. And likewise with taming the paper. So when your papers come into the house, try to keep the ones out that you don't want in your house. So anything you would flag as junk mail, getting it into a recycle container before it even gets into your home, before it gets onto a surface in your home, that is key. If you have to take care of urgent paperwork, take care of it quickly, or at least put it on your calendar so you don't forget about it and don't let it get buried with the rest of your paperwork. And finally, of course, everything else you're going to need to look at, probably on a weekly basis, put it into one inbox and also have a reminder on your calendar so you make sure to go through that inbox every single week. Okay, so that was a sneaky way of getting in 3 tasks within task 1 of week 2. Now for task 2 of week 2. And this is really all about getting ready to do your decluttering, followed by doing the organizing. Tip number 1 is to reflect on what you really want. This is kind of about a vision. It's about a purpose. So for example, if you start looking through your closet and you have a lot of clothes that when you wear them, you don't feel your best. Maybe you feel a little frumpy, or maybe you just don't feel like you. So that's what you're looking at when you're getting ready and you're thinking about, what do I want my wardrobe to make me feel when I wear those clothes? This is where we kind of take a hard look at what's working and what's not working. Task 2 might be a little bit surprising, or maybe you've heard this before, but it's really best not to try all the things on. This will really slow down your progress to get through the task, and it is not actually necessary to try clothes on in order to determine if you want to keep them or not. And I'll just give you a personal example. When I used to do my decluttering and I would try things on, a lot of times I would come across an item I know I had not worn in years, and yet it's still sitting in my closet. And I would try it on and I say, gosh, this is really attractive on me. It still fits. It looks great. I should totally wear this. Why don't I wear this all the time? But I know I won't wear it. That's why it's been in my closet unworn for 3 years. Something prevents me from wearing it. Something doesn't feel right about that garment. And so every time I put it on to wear it for the day, before I actually leave the house, I take it off and put something else on instead. So trying it on will just convince me I should keep it, when in fact I know in my heart it should just go. What you do want to do is touch everything as you go through the process of reviewing items. So I'm just helping you get ready with what this process is going to look like in the following tasks. The next one is kind of a fun one. It's using a power question or multiple power questions to help you get over that sticking point when you're really not sure which way you're leaning on whether to keep something or not. My favorite go-to power question is, does this truly serve me? Marie Kondo only uses, to my knowledge, the power question, does it spark joy? These are great questions to use. Come up with your own though. And there's a lot of other questions you can ask around specific items, such as, does it fit? If you know it hasn't fit you in 5 years, but you're holding on to it, assess whether or not it's worth taking up precious space in your closet or your drawers. And maybe you're just holding on to it because it was expensive, but you don't actually love it. It doesn't fit you. And finally, you're just going to prep your staging area. Not everyone may have the space, but you probably have a nice big bed to start dumping things onto in order to start the process of decluttering your wardrobe. You'll also want some bags or boxes, whatever you're using, maybe a few labels. I typically will just use the bins. Donate a consignment bin, and don't forget about recycling. Some places like Goodwill do recycling now for fabrics that are no longer really sellable. So I strongly recommend you find out who's doing textile recycling in your area. That will help keep some of these things out of the landfill and maybe become something else in a new life. And one more tip before we move on to task 3, and that is make sure you're only decluttering your own clothes, your own belongings first, and then if other family members would like your assistance, then you can dive in and give them a hand. All right, task 3 for week 2 is all about sorting the socks. You might wonder why I'm starting with socks. Well, it's a little bit arbitrary, but mostly I'm just helping you ease your way into the massive project of decluttering all of your clothes. So you could take socks, maybe some underwear and bras and things like that. Start going through these, and it'll give you kind of a taste for the process that you'll be going into in the next task. As you start going through your socks, if you do know that you have a lot of missing sock partners and a lot of single socks, you could do a couple of different things. For me, I'd probably end up just tossing them. But some people are pretty convinced they'll run it across those missing sock partners at some point in time, maybe bundled up in a sheet, because we all know bottom sheets love to suck up socks. Create a missing partner kind of sock bin that you keep wherever you fold your clothes. And anytime you discover that you now have another single sock and its partner is missing, you can just toss the partnerless sock into a bin. And later on, when you find another single sock, you can go look through that missing sock bin and see if you can't find its partner. So this is a pretty easy task, really. You're just going to get into tossing what you no longer love, socks you don't wear. Maybe they're in a color that you absolutely hate now, but you used to love it 10 years ago, whatever. And when you're done with sorting the socks and boiling it down to just the ones you really love, if you have a lot of different types of socks, it may be beneficial to have them sorted into those categories, like on the screen, ankle socks, knee socks, crew socks, etc. Then in whatever way you want to do this, you can fold them, you can roll them up together. You could do the thing where you kind of fold them into themselves and create a little ball. You can see here on the screen, there's an image of these little honeycomb containers, and one of them has rolled up socks in them. And those things are great. I wouldn't rush out and buy them just yet if you're not sure how you want to organize your socks, or you have a more simplistic way of managing it. But I do find that those things are quite handy. All right, we've made it to task 4, and we've got one left. Now we're going to get into the big heart of this week 2, which is figuring out which clothes you really love and want to keep. The first thing you're going to do is gather up all of your clothes. You have clothes for a different season. You could potentially do this as a seasonal approach. Whatever way you choose, if you are doing it seasonally, you want to gather all the clothes for that season. You want to bring all of those together in one place. If you have things in other closets, if you have things hanging on the top of your treadmill, if you have things that always seem to make a giant pile on a spare chair, bring it into one place so you can really see what you've got and you can do a proper decluttering. Okay, the next thing is to touch every single item. This might seem daunting if you have a lot of clothes. So again, that's where I might break it down into smaller categories. Maybe you just start with shirts. If it feels overwhelming to you, just chunk it down into smaller groupings so that you can get through it all before moving on to the next grouping of clothing. And remember here, you're not trying things on, you're just touching them, and then you can use your power questions and determine, do you really want to keep this item? Does that feel right to you? The one exception I might make when it comes to trying things on is if you have some special occasion clothing. Make sure they really are something you could still wear. Anyway, this whole process is just about deciding what you're going to keep, what you really love, what's going to serve you, what's going to make you feel the way that you want to feel when you wear these clothes. All right, we made it to task 5, which is now the final task of week 2. This task is all about organizing your keepers when you put them back away. First things first, when you're organizing, of course, you have to give everything you own a home base. This is where there's no one size fits all when it comes to organizing, and there's no real hard, fast rules other than declutter before you organize. So this is where you have to figure out, where do you break the rules, or rather the guidelines. So the guidelines are typically store all the like with like. You wouldn't store socks in multiple places, for example, but sometimes you have to break those guidelines. The second point of home organizing is so important. Wherever you have decided to store those items, aim for that, 80 to 90% capacity wherever the home base is for the item that you are organizing. This last point about optimizing flow and storage, this is all about what you're going to discover over time after you've reorganized your belongings. It's a process. Do make sure that you are putting things away back into their assigned home base. And then later on, if you want to update or upgrade the home base, either its location or maybe you want different containers, you can do that over time. It doesn't have to be done all at once. Well, congrats if you've wrapped up week 2 of the 5-week challenge. I wish you all the best of luck. Thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.